Okay, we're gonna hopefully finish this up. I mentioned in the cylinder shading of the tall cylinder that when your light source is over here, your shadow is going to be on this side. So same thing with the squat cylinder. So if you start with a rectangle on its side, you want it to be a cylinder, you just, again, find that, make your top here. When you're shading, you probably want to go in and erase that top line of the actual rectangle and leave the oval. Erase that bottom line of the rectangle. So then your shading is going to be in vertical rectangles around the edge of the cylinder. Top is going to be lighter. If there was a lip, you might see a little like darker ring here, and then the ring might be here. So if it was a drum, or if it was a tin can or something like that, you might have like a ring around the top. You don't have to have that there. That was just a what if scenario. So I'm going to take that out and just leave it light. Okay, so your shadow is going to be the darkest it can be, cast shadow, because that is opposite your light source. My finger hurts, so I'm holding it up. Let's get it up. Okay, so this edge is again going to be your lighter shadow, so it's going to be like a medium gray. Then this shadow is going to be dark, but not quite as dark as the cast shadow. Again, if you go over, you just erase. Then my medium gray, you're trying to get a nice transition from dark to light here. So I'm just going to keep going up and down. And then this area is going to be your highlight, whereas this is going to be like a super light gray right there, because it's coming around the bend. So any dark lines you want to erase, clean up your edge. That way you get your squat cylinder. I mean, I could do a better job of blending over here. I probably should, but I'm going to leave that as my instruction for now. So now I've got my cubes, actually rectangular prisms. So if I have my vanishing point over here, I'm going to this side. And then wherever you want it to end, it's going to be parallel to the line of the rectangle. And then this top line is going to be parallel to this line. So you kind of like keep your pencil kind of going in that same direction. That way you get it lined up without it being terribly off. Take those lines out. Your cast shadow would go the same direction. So if you kind of thought about like where this would be, this would be. Cast shadow follows those vanishing points too. You just want to kind of put it facing away from your light source. And then this would be the dark gray. Again, you're going to clean up your edges, so if you do go over a little bit, don't worry. Just clean it up.
Oh, you do got cardboard.
I do. And then if light, I think that's it.
You know, fox or your cat?
She didn't like it too much, so we're recycling it.
It's cool.
So because the light source is up a little bit, and this side is facing light, this is going to be the lightest, this is going to be a lighter gray because it's kind of below where it would be shining directly on it, and then this would be the darker gray. If we were saying that the light source is still coming from over here, but if we were seeing it from this angle, again, you go like this, like find your vanishing point. This is the tricky angle because the rectangular prisms are usually things that are taller, so it's how it changes the perspective a bit. Like you line up with like a vanishing point out there in the distance, and this is just an example of shapes and how you see them, but if this was on a in an actual drawing, you would only have one vanishing point if you were seeing it from one particular direction, or if you were seeing it from a corner, you would have two. You can get possibly 3 vanishing points, but that's if you're at a very odd angle. Normal is either 1 or 2 point perspective. So see how tiny that sliver is? If you see a lot of the top on this, and again, it would be parallel to the top here. If you find that, this is going to be a longer, and I'm lining up this line, that line. So that is a long rectangular prism going in the distance there. Then my light would be hitting this side, so this would be a light gray. This would be a little bit darker. I mean, it could be light gray here too. You really just kind of have to wing it, because there are different lighting conditions. But if you have the general sense of it's facing away from the light source, so this might be medium dark, this might be medium light. The side that is further away from the light source is going to be darkest. Not as dark as the cast shadow, but it's going to be darker. And I'm shading to follow the contour of that perspective line. If you notice that I like brought it down on the angle. That's a good way to get, if you're doing houses in perspective in the distance, if you shade it like with the contour of that angle, it's a good way to give your house, or whatever you're drawing, honestly, texture. So if that was like mimicking siding of a house, or like where the bricks would be, it's just a way of kind of double dutying, I said duty, where your texture and lines would be. It helps get things done faster. Okay, now cast shadow is the darkest. So if you use your shading to your advantage, you get 2 things done for the price of 1. Makes your drawing better and faster. I'm just gonna clean that edge up. It's a challenge because it's shaded, but that's okay. Okay. I hope that was actually in the video, because I just noticed I pushed this up further.